EGIF. What a good week. What a big week. The Fed met, and yes, I realize like, oh, they met Wednesday. The reality is everybody knows, but let me give you my 2 cents of what I think's happening and why it's really, I think, pretty important and fascinating to see. So we'll start with the generic stuff, right? Rates, believe it or not, a little bit up since the Fed meeting. And people, what? Well, we've been telling you for a long time, the last, forever really, but especially reminding folks recently that the Fed, like the decision was already like baked in the cake. Like our rates have already responded a month ago based on the Fed meeting. So you can see again, remember, this is opposite. And I almost hesitate to ever show it, but it's like this is MBS where or mortgage-backed securities where green is good. Like higher means lower rates. And you can see just in the last 3 days since the Fed meeting, that was the top. And rates have now started going higher, meaning this gets a little lower on the chart. So not a big deal, but we're kind of been floating for the last 2.5 weeks, give or take. There's a lot of room to go up or down here. So I'm hoping and thinking we stay where we are. But here's what's interesting. So the Fed did cut rates. I mean, one cut is a quarter of a point. And the little chart down here to the right shows where rates have been and where they were. So I mean, look at '07 to, or pardon me, '08 to 2009-ish. It's like they were zero for a long time. They went up and then COVID came down and then they went up really fast to fight inflation. Now they're starting to come down. So where do they end up and where do they go from here? So I'll hit on that in a second, but let's talk about what they basically said. So they did do the 25 basis point cut. And you don't need to read this. I'm not going to go over all of it. I promise. There was one dissenter. I'll show you who that is and what that means here in a second. But basically, they're kind of moving their focus. This is the key part. They're moving their focus. They have two mandates. The Fed has two mandates. So to go from both, and I'll stop sharing so you can see this. The two mandates is unemployment to make sure it stays low, and inflation to make sure it stays low. It's hard. Those are almost two competing things because when unemployment's low, typically it can mean high inflation. The fact that we got both of them low means like it's a really good spot right now. But the Fed is basically saying, hey, now we're going to move more from inflation focus because we saw where they had to increase rates to fight inflation. Now moving more towards employment. They don't think the job market's as strong as they think it is, or they're putting more, at least more attention to it. So going back to the slides, unemployment still remained at 4.5. Again, I think it's really higher than that when they take out the real, when they do the real numbers, but let's say it is what it is. The dot plot. So look down here below, and I'll show you that next. One person wanted a hike, so we don't for the remainder of this year. So it's like, what? Hold on. So look at this. So the dot plot, every dot represents a voting member. So this left grouping, right? So I think there's 19 members, not all voting, but of the 19 members, one person, you see that one little lonely dot there in the upper left, one person wants to raise rates by the end of the year, which is nuts. So fine. Let's see, what is that? Six people in that where we are now, that yellow horizontal piece. That's where they all say, hey, we're probably okay here. Two people say they should cut one more time, but the majority, what is it? 9 people say that there need to be two more cuts this year. That'd be October and December. Those are the next two meetings. So the majority, more, call it almost half of the folks think that we're going to cut two more times this year. That's what the market bet. But look at that one little dot there at the bottom. See the Stanley Tucci lookalike dude? Yeah, this guy just got sworn in, like literally like this week, just got sworn in to September 15th. So yeah, it'd be this week. He literally just got to where he can get in there and vote or be part of the Fed, and he's already saying like we need to hike or lower rates. What is that? So one, two, three, four, five. He wants five rate cuts by the end of this year. That means one of the meetings maybe have like three quarters, 0.75, and the other one half. The dude's been there a week. So you're like, come on, bro. But you can see the projections of where the groupings are for where they think the rates are going. So look at 2028. That's that fourth column. The majority of the Fed members there think rates will be somewhere about a point lower than where they are now, maybe point and a quarter. So ultimately, yes, lower rates are coming. What you need to understand, mortgage rates, they're going to anticipate these things and then move way in advance. So it's only on the surprise meetings, like, hey, we did or didn't do something that surprises the market, that you'll see mortgage rates actually respond. But I love the dot plots. It always looks like neat little patterns, kind of like a psychiatrist is like, what do you see here? I'm like, I see a butterfly. So anyway, that's the dot plots. Mortgage demand, as you can guess, with lower rates up, refinances. Guys, if you haven't already, check us out. Go to mortgagemark.com and let's do a refi analysis because rates, they are really attractive right now. We are doing a ton of refinances. It makes sense. So please, please, please do your homework and just know if it makes sense or not. And if it doesn't make sense now, we can at least tell you where it does and give you a strike rate so you can pay attention for when things get there. Active inventory, you can see that Texas is up 32% between net compared to now versus pre-pandemic levels. So we actually have more inventory now, and you can see that's more of a west, mountain west kind of thing. Man, look at that Northeast. I knew they had tight supply, but holy smokes, I had no idea it was that little supply, which is crazy. So while you can say, man, we got a softer market here in Texas, that to me, that's a good thing. It'll keep prices hopefully in check and they won't go crazy. As the rates come down, demand should and will pick up. So I think Texas is sitting in a really sweet place to be. Would not want to be up in that Northeast, man. That's tough with no homes to sell. I thought this was interesting. Rising cost, you can read some of the stats if you really care, but property taxes are up 27% since 2019. I'm kind of surprised it's only 27%. Since 2019, home values have like practically, gone up 50%. So it's wild that they're not more. So this chart on the right or the map on the right is delinquent taxes from 2024. I don't know why that's that interesting, but I just thought, you know what, that stat it was at least worth mentioning there on the red. Investors still a third of the homes. They still go up. Now they've come down a little bit because rates have operated. So I put this in here to say that as rates come down, more and more people are going to have to compete with those investors that suddenly where the numbers do make sense. So if you're looking to buy a home, this might be a good time to do it. You can always refinance later. Young Americans, have never seen this stat. Unemployment for ages 16 to 24 is 10.5%. I didn't know they were measuring 16-year-olds employment. So apparently they are, and it's at 10%. That's more than double the overall unemployment piece. Young adults face the sharpest labor market shock in years. Look, at the end of the day, I don't know how many 16, 18, 20-year-olds are doing, high level jobs, but whether it's the fast foods or the travel, the leisure, I don't know what they're doing, digging ditches, I don't know. But the reality is it is interesting to kind of just have you scratch your head and say, man, that you'd think the cheap labor wouldn't be impacted that much since again, an 18-year-old probably going to cost you that much to get into work. Product of the week, refi related, HELOCs. Man, we got a sweet, sweet, sweet HELOC program. We do a ton. We get a lot of inquiries about this. It's been great, is great. So if you need something, mortgagemark.com, let us know what we can do to help. And then let's have some fun. DFW, it's one of the hottest markets in 2025. And this one is pumpkin related. So I had no idea if he said, where do pumpkins come from? I honestly don't know that I had an answer for that. Apparently, the answer, Illinois. Who knew? Pumpkin capital of the world, they claim. So there you go. Mortgage Mark meme of the week. I think this is from Con Air. When a borrower has 740 credit, which is really good. Seasoned down payment money, which is good. And a salary job, always fun. And an appraisal waiver, wonderful. That good old look with the hair, flowing back with the breeze. Good for them. All right, guys, evidence of success. We are really good at the job. I'm proud of the team. Justin Wood getting a shout out here. That's awesome. Keep it up, J-Dub. We appreciate you as always. And you know what to do. Forward, share, subscribe, all the fun stuff that goes with this. And as always, appreciate you watching. Reach out to us if you need anything. Mortgage Mark team is here to help. And when you think mortgage, think Mark.